those words.
It's the NUKA-COLA Lounge, presented by the Triple S League.
I try to recall, but I hear voices that shatter my thoughts.
Hey everybody, welcome to the NUKA-COLA Lounge podcast. We'll just call it that till we change it. So welcome to our podcast. Sorry, that's kind of an inside thing where we've got some talks going on behind the scenes about rebranding and ultimately making our podcast better in the future. So keep an eye out for some of those changes coming soon. But for now, we're sticking with the same format. One of our recent developments in our format, of course, is to have a rotating series of guest commentators coming through for each podcast. And today we have the very lovely and the very talented Tara St. Michael.
Hi.
How are you today?
Not bad.
Good. You sound a little tired. Is computer science a bit of a what am I trying to say?
It's a bit of a hard study. I'm Cy, by the way.
Sibsidian here. The man with no face, Sibsidian, is here as always. Tara is a YouTuber and a musician and a gamer. She's got some gaming stuff on her channel, but the majority of what she does is covers of music from games and from anime. Would you say you do more anime or more games or about equal?
I'd say maybe about equal.
Yeah.
I've had more anime stuff lately, but I've had more game Vocaloid stuff in the past, so yeah, Vocaloid's also in there. Different from anime.
What is Vocaloid?
Vocaloid, it's basically Yamaha developed a system that is kind of like artificial voice, but it sings. So it's kind of like MIDI data, and where you put in the voice samples and...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
People in the community make music with this, like original songs and stuff, and you have like a whole community of Vocaloid producers.
Huh.
And some people, like me, cover some of the songs, so there's human vocals instead of the robot vocal.
Huh.
So. Okay.
Neat. Well, I didn't know that was a thing. I do know that I had a program that could do that, like back in the late 90s. I had this little demo program that was called Virtual Friend, which is, I know how that sounds. Just that's what it was called. I had no control over it.
Yeah. just your friend.
Just a virtual. Okay. Basically, all it is was this alien head. That was very low poly and but it was, it was animated. You could type things in. He would say anything you typed in, but you could also make him sing if you knew the proper syntax. And I mean, of course, it's very computery and very terrible by today's standards, but it was really, really fascinating at the time. And they thought this was the future of online interaction. Like, they thought this was going to be...
Oh, wow.
They thought this was going to be, through your messenger, you'd be typing and...
The voice system did end up creating... what is it called? Like Siri, the foundation for Siri, right?
Yeah, like Siri and like Microsoft Sam, those kinds of the synthesized voices. Yeah, absolutely. And there's some really good ones now. There are some that are almost indistinguishable from a real voice. But
yeah, so basically versus that, Vocaloid is synthesized singing.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up now and see how it sounds, because that's interesting.
Right now, one of the most popular ones is opening for Lady Gaga. So there's that.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, Miku had a concert in Los Angeles at Anime Expo, so... Actually, it may have been more than a couple of years ago. I'm losing track of time here.
Well, that's what happens when you get busy. And
yeah.
I know from following your Twitter feed, etc., that you're an incredibly busy person. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get into doing these kinds of musical covers, and what made you decide to get into the wonderful, wild world of YouTube?
Okay, so it's kind of interesting. My channel didn't start, focused on anime, video game stuff at all. I kind of just wanted to get into it just to do cover songs. And then, at the same time, about a year after I started that channel, I was also getting into voice acting. And a lot of people in that community were interested in anime, Vocaloid, video game stuff, and they do covers and trans lyrics, which is where you take the Japanese lyrics and translate them into English in a way that they're singable, basically. So that kind of got me started on that, and then later on, in around 2011, I started to do a few things like that on my channel myself. Then I ended up taking a long break because school and life and busyness. And then just recently, at the end of 2015, I decided to just start doing this as a regular thing. So
Yeah, and you're also distributing your music through some online channels.
Yeah, Sounddrop, which used to be Louder Distribution, and more recently DistroKid, because I had some problems with Sounddrop recently, and DistroKid seemed like a good alternative to be able to get stuff out while they were sorting out those issues. So
Okay. Now, how does that work with the legality of covering somebody else's song? Like, do these distributors, do they handle all that for you, or?
They do. There's something called a mechanical license, and normally if you were to do this yourself, you'd have to pay a fee to get the mechanical license and pay all the royalties up front to the original publisher, which is around 9.1 cents a song, or not a song, per download, per sale.
Oh, okay.
But what Sounddrop and DistroKid do is, actually their prices are a little bit different for this, but Sounddrop, they used to be free when they were louder, but now they're $9.99 per song.
Now that
and
they're
that
quieter?
gets you the license. Yeah,
that was bad.
yeah, that gets you the license for... Now I get it. Sorry.
You just got it.
Basically, they get you the license for $9.99 per song, and that's indefinitely. And then they take the 9.1 cents out of your sales and pay it to the publisher. DistroKid does kind of the same thing, except they charge $1 a month upfront for the entire year, per year. So you're paying $12 per cover song each year to keep your song up. And again, they take the royalties out of the sales. So.
Okay. Well, that's nice. That's so you can do that kind of thing without having to fly under the radar and try not to.
Exactly, and it's
like
great
Rooster
for
Teeth in the early
collaborations too,
days.
because they do the revenue splits and everything. You just
Yeah.
have to tell them to do it.
That's awesome.
So it makes things really simple.
No, I remember hearing Bernie talk about the early days of Red versus Blue, where they were kind of flying under the radar. It's like, I hope, let's hope Bungie doesn't see this. And then Bungie saw it and called them in for a meeting. And they went in thinking, they're like, are they going to tell
shut us down?
Are they going to tell us to stop or what? Anyway, they wound up being a licensed Halo product. So, which I think, I mean, kudos to Bungie for doing that at the time, for recognizing the potential there. That
forward thinking is so important for like so much of what we do, not just what we do, but like what everybody does online right now. It's like without that forward thinking, you'd have no, like, YouTube wouldn't have been able to take off in the way that it did, because it would have just been peppered with endless lawsuits on like, you're the next Napster, instead of like, just think about it. Like, what if the guys at Napster and the guys at like all those big recording studios had said, hey, let's work together and let's make money. They would have had the iTunes store way before iTunes had the iTunes store.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, in retrospect, everybody's hitting themselves because they're like, well, why didn't we think of that? And it's like, well, because you're kind of stupid. Just throwing that out there.
Stuck in an old way of thinking. Speaking of which, let's talk about Nintendo. So Nintendo announced this week that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to have some DLC coming later in the year. It's and so they're selling a $20 season pass for this, which nets you a couple of bonuses and 2 DLC packs that'll be released at different times. Now, Zelda, like DLC in a Zelda game, that's definitely a new thing. But what I found really curious about this was what's included in it. And the expansion pass bonus right off the bat gets you 3 new bonus treasure chests that you find in the game. Two of which contain useful items, and one of which contains a t-shirt with the Nintendo Switch logo on it that Link can wear. Which
okay, that's new too, other than like the whole tunic thing in Ocarina of Time, but
yeah,
which is bizarre to me. It's like, okay,
it could work. It could work. Yeah. I mean, I can't state how much how much I really do love the Zelda series, and I hope that it really does well. And I'm really happy with the new direction, because it's almost like Skyrim, the way that it looks right now, and I love the fact that you could pick up different weapons and use different weapons and weapon styles, and I'm really liking that you can play as more than one character thing. I think that's gonna be cool. That's not been confirmed yet, but I think not that I know of course. I haven't been watching.
Didn't we see some trailer footage where the guy was playing as Zelda though?
I don't know. Unless they came out recently, then
you were the one who told me about it. So
okay, no, I know what you're talking about now. You're talking about the like the secret little pan over that they had to the Zelda character, and yes, it was Zelda. It wasn't Linkle. It was Zelda because of what she was wearing, and you can extrapolate that into a Zelda outfit, not a Linkle outfit. So that's, I think, really cool. And honestly, like, I never saw the need for us to have a Linkle. I like her artwork, and I like a lot of the things that the community came up with, but she was never needed because you already had a female protagonist that you could upgrade instead of from just an interactable NPC to like somebody you actually play with. I mean, the series is called Zelda. I'm just throwing that out there.
The Legend of Zelda.
I mean, they didn't really need to make Linkle either, because I mean, if they'd wanted to, they could have done an entire game centered around Zelda as the playable character. They did it with Peach at one point, so
yeah.
And Zelda, didn't she already have that like alter ego thing that she was doing in some of the previous games? Like, I'm just saying, it kind of makes sense to let her, come into her own story instead of like forcing a new character. Again, I really do like a lot of the artwork for Linkle. I think it is at this point now. I would like to see all three, but I didn't necessarily see the need for Zelda to be to be restrained and for them to have to come up with like just a gender bent version of Link. So
what if it's Link's long lost sister?
But I mean, that's the kind of thing that could impact the story better and create a better version of it, would be the fact that you could have like this extra story about where Link came from and that stuff. We know that he's kind of like this. He's usually like this kind of like lost boy or like elfy kind of story where they never really expanded on it too much. But I think it's a pretty good idea and concept. So
we'll need like 6 new timelines to explain it all, though. Have you seen that somebody people have been trying to figure out what exactly is the timeline of the Legend of Zelda games, and I think they came up with like there's 3 timelines depending on the outcome of Ocarina of Time. If Ganon wins Ocarina of Time, then it goes off in this timeline in it. But if Link wins, but he does something else, then it goes off in this timeline. It's really weird. But
it's getting to the point where like the timeline of Legend of Zelda versus the timeline of Kingdom Hearts is getting easier to figure out.
Kingdom Hearts. That's like an amalgamation of tons of Disney characters, is that it?
Disney characters, Final Fantasy characters. It's kind of like an original story built around like everything coming into that one game. Okay. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts is known for being stupidly confusing. So and stupidly long between releases. Like, I mean, it's... Yes!
I was having this conversation with my brother, and he's like, oh, I love this series, I'm like, I do not deny that this series is good. But I do have issue with the fact that it took them so bloody long to come out with them when, most studios, aside from Valve, would fall under extreme criticism for not releasing the next iteration of their wildly successful series. And there comes a point, and you can see this from the Duke Nukem theory, the Duke Nukem effect, is that if you wait too long, nothing you do will ever live up to the hype. Like, there will be, at no point will there ever be a way that you can say, now this was worth the wait, right? Everybody will always respond the same as like, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
you've moved on to a new audience basically at that point.
Yeah, you've essentially had to...
It's getting to the point where by the time we get a new Kingdom Hearts game at some point, I'll be old enough that my eyesight will be deteriorated enough that the graphics won't matter.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so what do you think about this whole DLC thing for a Zelda game? And actually, before you answer, let me read out what they've announced the DLC is going to be. So DLC Pack 1 comes out in summer 2017, adds a new Cave of Trials challenge, a new hard mode, and an additional map feature. DLC Pack number 2 adds a new original story, new dungeon, and additional challenges. That's...
Oh, okay, hold on here. Say that one again.
New original story.
New original story. So this means
I like
this is potentially where we get our second character from, maybe, because, like, saying new original story, that's got some weight to it if you're, yeah. Oh, okay. I see
The way it registers for me is like a game within a game. So...
Potentially, yeah, or like an expanded quest line of some kind.
Exactly. Like a new story. They're outright saying new story, so...
But just hearing that, just hearing everything I read off, including, you know, the Nintendo Switch shirt, which someone was like, that's so Ubisofty. Does this sound like DLC that's worth $20? Which I'm assuming that's 20 American.
It really depends on how that additional story works out. Like, that's going to be the breaker of the whether or not the DLC is going to be worth it. And like, one thing that I want to make clear is that people need to relax just a little bit when it comes to this whole concept of DLC. And like right now, Civ 6 is getting all of their DLC that comes out is just getting absolutely atrociously bombed in ratings. Yes, the game was very expensive. It was higher than most AAA titles when they come out. And yes, the DLC also quite high and doesn't add too much. But and both the consumer and the creator of the content, aka the studio, they do need to tread up a pretty fine line with this, because in one hand you can go overboard with your DLC. Like you can charge way too much. You can, really, piss off your user base by charging them ridiculous amounts for DLC that, contains things that you should have added in the game. That is for sure. But at the same time, if a community stops supporting a game through DLC, you're not going to get any more DLC for that game. So it is a very fine line that both the consumer and the creator of the content has to be very wary of. Is like, okay, what's too far? What's cashing in, and what's being creating something that's worth it. These are the questions that you have to be very, very mindful of. Otherwise, you can fall into this significant pit of being of not doing that kind of thing. So
yeah, what do you think, Tara?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Do you think would you buy it in advance, or would you wait till later to wait till see
I'd probably wait and
like?
see.
Yeah.
Especially since that's usually my approach to things. I'll usually see what other people's experiences are with something before I dive in and go buy it.
So you're not one to pre-order games and stuff like that?
I'll pre-order if I know it's going to be something that I'll play. I know it's going to be something that I'll like. Let's say like a sequel to a game that I love, a game that I follow.
Like the next Kingdom Hearts kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered 2.8.
Nice.
The community itself is kind of revolting against the idea of pre-order. I mean, Boogie and a lot of people at RVB, Rooster Teeth will, and numerous other game, you've got Total Biscuit and Angry Joe. They all say stop pre-ordering games, because pre-orders are you're giving a lot of money to somebody for a very long period of time, and you're hoping that this product is going to be amazing, and oftentimes you're let down with the quality. And so they're saying, look, we got to stop pre-ordering games. And for the most part, I follow that. I no longer will pre-order a game, even though we actually have to buy pretty much like a lot of games that come out. We're like, well, we got to buy this one because we got to do a review or we got to do some content about it. At this point, though, we don't pre-order it until like the last day or two of. And that's just to get kind of to say, look, developers, we want you to be a little bit more clear and concise in what you're doing, and B, and I feel that some studios get to the point where it's like, oh, we're making a series, we're making a group of these games, and you as the consumer just have to buy it because you have to, and there's and they don't really give you any other reason than, well, if you don't, then you're gonna be left behind, and who wants to be left behind? Like, that's not conducive to good business practice. So
yeah, definitely.
I will sometimes pre-order if they offer some good pre-order bonuses, especially if it's a game that I know I'm going to be getting anyway, like with Dishonored 2. By pre-ordering it, I got all of the DLC for the first Dishonored game for free, which was a fantastic bonus for me.
And stuff like that pays off, because you're like, well, now I'm getting content that I can consume right now, and I find that a lot better than the terrible concept of like, oh, hey, we don't care at all about what you expect from the game, we just expect you to purchase it. It's like
those bonuses, like it kind of reminds me how in the music world, if you have a pre-ordered album, for instance, sometimes there'll be a track on there that you get right away. So you get one of the tracks on the album the moment you pre-order.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like that with the bonuses.
This may be a dumb question, but what is the business advantage of offering things for pre-order? Is it just you get money in your bank right away?
From what I can tell, the pre-order is to build hype. And I'm taking this from the music world because I've seen people put up their stuff for pre-order. And I've seen people who don't normally make the charts on iTunes on the charts for a couple of days on iTunes, because iTunes registers all those pre-orders as people buying it instantly the day it comes out.
Oh, okay.
So,
interesting.
That's an advantage to it, I guess. It's building promo for that and building hype. So
I guess it'd be similar for the gaming world.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's probably some differences in there. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what they
well,
are, but
it's different, but I suppose it also might give the business, like the game developer, a better idea of like how many people are going to be consuming the game, and I don't know, maybe it helps budget, or I don't know anything
Perhaps,
about that side of
I
business.
don't know.
Anyway, did you hear that there's going to be Netflix is developing a Castlevania series?
Ooh.
I did hear about this, and
I know you heard about it
didn't.
because I told you about it yesterday. But you hadn't heard that, Tara? Yeah, I hadn't heard
No, I
hadn't heard
haven't.
about that until this week, and apparently it's supposed to be thematically sort of. The director or producer is aiming for sort of a Game of Thrones type thing, so not going to be a kids show.
Well,
Lovely.
Castlevania is not. It's not a really. It really is not a kids. Not a true kids game. Like it's like,
Well, no.
it deals with some pretty heavy content there. So
No,
I'm not surprised about that.
I'd have to say Castlevania is probably my favorite game series that I was never allowed to play. I loved the concept of it. Of course, I was not allowed to play it as a kid, but I don't know. I have high hopes. I'm hoping for another, maybe something along the lines of like Angel meets Lord of the Rings, or there hasn't been a real good fantasy / horror series that I've particularly enjoyed since sort of Angel ended. What was it, like 35 years ago now?
Getting close.
And Joss Whedon moved on to all the superhero stuff. Actually, some of the stuff.
Actually, at that point, he moved on to the Dollhouse thing.
Dollhouse was I really enjoyed Dollhouse.
I did too, but apparently not many other people did either. So, which kind of sucks.
Well, and then, or at least the networks didn't. And then of course Firefly, which was just a tragic
That
tale.
was before it ended.
That was before
the end
Dollhouse? Oh, that's right. Yeah, Firefly was like...
That was before Dollhouse. That was even before Angel and Buffy ended.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because Nathan went to Buffy, and I can't remember I can't remember the actor's name. And then Jane went to Angel.
Yeah.
And it was so fun seeing Jane go from this like really dumb kind of like muscle-bound Hulk guy to, fancy lawyer, always wearing a suit thing. It was that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Also seeing Nathan go from, a good guy at heart, but a kind of a roguey guy to crazy devil villain guy. I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, I know the show's been out forever, and most people should have watched those series by now. But whatever.
Yeah. So, Castlevania on Netflix. So
I'll be looking forward to it because a lot of our game iteration stuff to movies and television has not gone over too well, and most of the time it is the fault of the directors. So as we talked about last week, so.
Adaptations in general are one of those things where it's either you do it well or you do it terribly.
Mm-hmm.
There is no in between.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree. Like there's no video game, movie, or series that's like, oh, that was okay. It's like, no, either, yeah, that was pretty good. Like the only example I can think of, which I came up with last week, was Halo Until Dawn.
Forward Unto Dawn.
Forward Unto Dawn, yeah.
And I mean, there you had an amazing director and amazing writers who went about, sticking with as much of the core, history of the game and the actual lore, without trying to, put their own spin. It's like that guy who did Batman. What was that guy who did Batman? Was it the Val Kilmer Batman, or was it the can't remember which one exactly, but it's like it was the one with Mr. Freeze, Arnold and that group. So, and they're sitting there and they're talking about it, and they're like, okay, no, what we're doing is our own interpretation of Batman, not representative of the lore and the story. We're just creating a new story, and we don't care what the fans have to say. As soon as you heard that come out of the director's mouth, you're like, well, that's like their budget down the drain, because it's not going to do well at all.
That's awful. How can you take the character out of its original context and expect that to be any kind of good? Like, I don't know, that doesn't even make sense to me. It's like, you want to do your own original thing,
create your own original story.
Make your own character that has nothing to do with all that, yeah.
And if you want to base it off of that, that's the point where you start following like fan fiction type things, except you change the characters into your own thing and then just like follow that kind of same universe type story, but in your own universe.
Yeah.
Make it similar but not the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, bunch of news out of Valve this week, and none of it has anything to do with Half-Life 3. Surprisingly enough.
Shocking. Wow. Absolutely shocking. No idea.
So, Gabe Newell has
us.
gone on record as saying he wants to bring back paid mods on Valve. He believes modders who add value to the industry should receive a kickback for that. And
now, does this mean that they're going to be wanting to take about, a little over twice as much as the modders get? Or maybe they're realizing that by modding games, they create a longer life cycle to those games and allow more people and encourage more people to buy those games. Maybe that's the brilliance that they're finally starting to see, instead of saying, all right, well, we'll give 50% to the creator of the game, and then we'll take, another 50%. And what do you mean the modders want, a cut of this?
Well,
my goodness.
50% of what, though? Because they can't sell the mods, can they?
No, well, that's what they tried to do before, and it wasn't 50%. I was over-exaggerating, but it was like, it was like they took 35, and then the original creators of the game took 35, and then they slapped some fees on the mod creators, and the mod creators got like by the end of the day, the mod creators were getting less than 20% or around 20% of the actual cut of what people were paying for the mods. And you sit there and you look at that, and what they had done is they had stepped into the Skyrim modding scene that had been established for years and said, hey, look, we're going to tell you how to do your mods now. And that really hurt that community, because there were some people who were like, great, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to go into full-time mod making, and yes, you're going to have to pay for all my mods, but you're going to have to pay like $1 or something like that. And there were a lot of people who did that, who, justifiably, they're able then to create more content. That's great, except their mods were previously free. And then
you shouldn't have to.
In another scenario, because it had been around for so many years, and there were a lot of mod creators who stopped creating content or editing their mods. They're like, yeah, I'm done with this now, and like 2 years later this whole thing comes around. Then people take their mods that they had worked on and say, oh, okay, this is my work now, I'm just taking it because there's no original author, so I'm just going to steal all of his work, and I'm going to charge $5 a mod for it. And there were idiots who paid money for it. And I mean, well, it's not okay in so many levels, Unfortunately,
this happens a lot in lots of creative fields.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had like 100 of our videos stolen and put up on some other channel at one point. It wasn't too hard to get that taken down.
And then there's people who monetize them too, or they'll start a Patreon account and be like, I'm making videos that aren't really mine.
Yeah, and it was funny because they were tagging like random other YouTubers in the description, and this YouTuber, this gaming YouTuber, came and watched our video on this other channel, and was like, "What does this have to do with me? Like, what on earth are you doing here?" And like wrote that in the comments. So I came and commented, yeah, this guy stole our video and it has nothing to do with you. Hope you enjoyed it though. Anyway. But yeah, paying for mods, I'm not okay with that. Paying for community content, yeah.
Well, it depends, because like there's a lot of people who have to, license and/or spend vast amounts of time, and honestly, I've supported mods before. I've supported a lot of mods.
By voluntarily,
Nexus.
But you're voluntarily donating, right?
I'm not against them. Like some of the big mods, like the story mods, like those things are worth like $15-$20 to me. So if the creator wants to say, all right, if somebody's done a quality check and made sure that my thing is operates and works really well, and then they say, hey, we'll make it so that people pay $5 for it. I mean, I don't necessarily see a bad thing with that. What I don't like is the people who do like the minor little things, and then they're like, $2. It's like, well, most modders could have done this. Most modders could have done this in their spare time. So
I guess the problem I have with it is Valve coming in and saying, oh, you have to pay for these mods now, and we'll take a cut of it if you're distributing it through our service. But it sounds like they're going in a different direction with this new. Well, they didn't get into a lot of details in the articles I've read about it, but apparently they pay modders, map makers, and modelers who, when they select mods for publication in Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike Go, and Dota 2, they do pay the modders for those. So if they went to that kind of a system where it's like they have something worked out with the game developer and they realize, this is value added for the game, and we'll drop the mod developers some money for doing this work. And we've talked about this before, that like Skyrim Special Edition already has so many mods. Like this was supposed to be the upgraded version of Skyrim, this new and improved, better edition. And second I started playing it, I was like, wow, I need to mod this. So went and got, the high-res graphics and all these other things that just do things so much better than what was built into the game. So there's a lot of cases where, modders just, for some reason, are doing things better than the actual game developers. And it would make sense for the devs at that point to be like, here, we want to use this. Here's some money. We'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on it. I don't know how I feel about making the consumer pay for it, though. Like, paying for individual mods as opposed to maybe for like a bundle of really top quality mods, I might pay for. But if it's like what we have to do now, where you have to go through and find which ones work the best. And, sometimes, you have 3 different, like, weather mods to choose from, and you load one up, and it's like, well, this isn't what I want, so, this could be better. Then you load the other one up, and it's like, well, this is causing my machine to lag now, and, like, there's just...
I compare it to apps on a phone. Mm-hmm. You go on the App Store, and it's like, this one sucks, I want a new one. Or this one's awesome, I'm never going back.
Yeah, right on. Exactly. So also in Valve news, the service has announced its plans to replace Steam Greenlight with something new. So Steam Greenlight, if you're not aware, is the service that developers can use to get their games onto Steam at this point. And so for a small application fee, they put their game, which may or may not be completed, into this queue on the Greenlight, and then Steam users go and vote for which games they want to see actually available for purchase on Steam. So Valve has announced that they're planning to phase out this system in favor of a more direct system of game developers paying for getting their games on Steam. And there's some mixed reactions to this. I'll let Saib comment on that, because I believe you had...
So there were a couple things that kind of make sense about it, and then kind of screw over the people who are, trying to get their games onto that platform. So one of the things that kind of makes sense is that there were already services and groups and organizations that had basically established themselves as being able to get your game greenlighted on Steam via their network of getting people to go out and vote for it automatically. And you paid for this. So already there was a format which you could say, okay, I want my game to get greenlighted on Steam ASAP. How much will it cost me? Okay, this is how much it'll cost me. Done. And because those already existed, Valve is sitting there going, well, people are already paying to get their game on, so therefore maybe we should just skip the middleman, and if you want to get your game up, then you can get your game up. What it does do, though, is it does definitely hurt the creators of small indie games that come from like students and
word of the day,
smaller
students.
Yeah. And smaller indie studios. That's where I was going with that word, is combining the word indie and students at the same time. So these indie studios, unfortunately, they don't always have a lot of money, and and a lot of examples of them needing to rely on their community and fan base. But really, I think because they said that the lowest cost is like $100, and I think that's what most students will have, and I don't see why some university schools and stuff like that would not have that in some kind of a grant system, or not be able to use that use that cost towards your your school funds and stuff like that. So that's already being talked about, but that's an individual basis at individual schools. It's also not necessarily that hard to round up $100 if you are a student. In most cases, it's not. It's like go out, work a weekend shift at a caterer's or something like that. Typically get you the money anyways. and then of course, and this is probably going to be the most common one, is once your game is ready to go, just make a Kickstarter for it, or make a small Patreon for it, and say, look, here's this product. I want to get this up onto Steam. I contacted them. They say that they're going to charge me 200 and some odd bucks. Then you can raise the money. The more polished the game is, and the bigger the organization that's making the game, the higher the cost, obviously. So, and then if you're an actual publisher, then of course you have to go through the official fields. You can't just go in and they're not going to release Battlefield 17 on Steam for $5,000. That's not how that works. So
the big studios, like your big AAA studios, are not.
Whereas
they're not going
some of
through
the titles,
Greenlight and stuff anyway.
Yeah, some of the titles that I've worked on in Japan and Korea, they our estimates were that they'd sell around 500,000. That case, that's a $5,000 purchase, because we're making a lot of money off of those 500,000 orders and purchases and units being sold. So there's people think they automatically, I think, thought of the top end being what they were going to get charged, and that's not how it's going to work. Obviously, Steam is going to look at you and try, and not always be successful, but they're going to try to get you the best bang for your buck. And I think that's what people need to remember, is that Steam is a business, and if they drop the ball in this area, another business will come in and take its place. So they're going to be careful to make sure that they do what they need to do in the appropriate way that they need to do it, without costing them and without costing their consumers and their creators too much money. I do think that they should still have said, we will allow some people to get it greenlit for free, depending on public interest and demand and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it just means that most developers have to put on another hat, and they do have to try something that they're not necessarily familiar with in helping to promote their game. So not necessarily a horrendous thing, but at the same time, you are asking these small indie studios to put on yet another hat for yet another thing to make their game successful. So
that said, though, there is already a fee for getting your game into Steam Greenlight. $100 fee, with the intention of cutting down. Well, the quote here is to cut down the noise in the system. Like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, and apparently that money all goes to charity. But anyway,
Like, you don't want just anybody saying, "Oh, hey, I want to build a game," and then just submitting it to Greenlight.
Some garbage.
Without any guarantee that anything's actually going to happen.
You want to know that they're serious about it, and that they're
exactly.
And there have been a lot of people who have unfortunately used and abused the system to the point that it's like, well, we can't even trust like regular people now. And I really do understand the frustration that Steam has with this factor, because it is really, really annoying. So
yeah, you want to. They put the system in place to bring quality indie titles, and when people are abusing the system, it's just not good.
And you
for
also
anybody.
don't want like somebody going and ripping off a free game and then trying to get it on Steam themselves to make all the money. You don't want that happening either.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen in the music world.
Sorry, did you say a furry game or a free game?
Free game.
I had to stop there for a quick second and just make sure we were on the same. I'm not against furries. It's just it's sometimes it's like you come on a little too strong. Not giving you any disrespect, but I have very sensitive skin, and being hugged by a giant furry man is not something that necessarily is something that I look forward to at conventions. Just saying.
Oh boy. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today, so thank you so much, Tara, for joining us. It was great having you.
It was great being here.
I hope we get to see you again at a convention sometime soon.
Hopefully. I will be going to Animathon again this year.
Oh,
so.
sweet. Awesome. check out Tara's channel. If you're into gaming music or just good music, you'll love what you find on our channel. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton when you do that. Check out this video. It's one of our favorite things that we've done so far on our channel. And here's some more stuff you might like. See the description below for links to our Sugar Bomb forum and our mods on Nexus Mods.